We're filming. What is your name and where are you from?
My name is Stephanie Safdie, and I'm kind of from all over the place. I've spent most of my time growing up in Potomac, Maryland, but I've lived in Florida and the Bay Area in California and Potomac, and for the past couple of months, New York City while I wait to move to Paris.
So what city would you say you're most familiar with?
Honestly, most familiar with New York City.
With New York City?
New York
Okay,
City.
great.
Yeah.
Now one of the questions I like to ask people is, would you like to do a New York accent?
I almost said forget about it. But
I could ask you a question and then you could answer it in New York.
You can't see through my mask, but I'm smiling so big right now because I find this question so funny. My mom's a New Yorker.
Is she really?
She's from Brooklyn and Canarsie.
Oh yeah.
But the only thing I can say like in a New Yorker accent when I mimic her, is she says my daughter and Mira. My Mira is like when she's getting in the car. My Miras are all wrong.
Yeah.
That's about as close as a New York accent I could probably get to.
The two words that stand out to me the most when I listen to the New York accent is when they say years, they say years, years. And the other word is records. They say records.
Yeah.
Like R-E-K-E-D-S,
Yeah.
records. So those are the two words that stand out most for me. Okay, now, did you want to start talking about your channel first, or do you want me to go into my questions?
Sure, I can mention my channel.
Okay, please.
So I've got a YouTube channel myself. It's just my name, Stephanie Safdie, spelled S-A-F-D as in dog, I-E. I'll come right up. And I make pretty much videos on everything. It's got lifestyle videos, vlogs, a lot of travel content. I've traveled the world, been to 20 countries, 4 continents, 40, 50 cities around the world. Music, I write and record my own music. I just came out with an album called Matters of the Heart. It's on Spotify. I make covers, I play a few instruments. I love food, I'm a foodie, tons of cooking videos on there. I'm vegan, super passionate about that. Yeah, and fashion videos. So big channel with a lot of different stuff on there.
It'll cover everyone's needs.
It will.
Now, what other platforms are you on other than YouTube?
YouTube is really my biggest one. I have Snapchat. It's, I think, Musical Steph123, and then Instagram is also my name, but I'm honestly most active on YouTube.
So, I mean, what has your experiences been like on YouTube? What have you actually learned through the process of being a YouTuber?
Well, I don't know if I'd get to call myself a YouTuber because I don't have that big of a following, but I think if you want to have success, it's really about making searchable content. You have to make things that people are searching for, because as much as I'd love to just vlog about my day and what I'm doing in New York City every day, people don't really care, and that's the honest truth. It's really like a social media game. It's branding, it's tagging, and it's all what's the word? Like media and monetization and getting people to want to click on something. So your title, is it clickbaity? Is your thumbnail looking good? You know, the video could be great, but what's gonna get people to click on it? And it's unfortunate that that's the way that it is, but it's a mind game to get success. But I think you have to make stuff that you love. And if you like it, my dad would always tell me, you have to do what you love and the money will follow. So just keep making stuff that you like and be proud of what you put out there.
I don't know if you've noticed that, but I've noticed from my things is that there isn't a whole lot of interaction going on YouTube. Because like, if I post my interviews to Instagram, the people who are in my videos will put that on their stories, or I don't know, they'll send it to their, somehow like 100 of their friends are gonna come and look at the video. Whereas with YouTube, it's just not the case. What's your explanation for that?
My explanation for that is TikTok and millennial Gen Z, the attention span just keeps getting shorter and shorter. You know, I post my videos to my personal Facebook. No one clicks on them. Why? And it's unfortunate, but the reality is people don't have the attention span anymore. They have the attention span for a 15-second TikTok video, but they don't want to sit down and watch, even if it's the most beautifully edited video, all your heart and soul is put into it. People don't want to sit down and watch a 7-minute video, no matter how beautifully comped it was together.
Yeah. And the frightening thing about my videos is some of them will go on for an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, now, I usually have 2 tracks here, general questions and dating questions. Which path would you like to go down?
Let's go with the general questions.
General questions. Okay, now, before I get started, let me just say, skip anything you want to skip.
Sure.
What are your strengths and weaknesses?
My strength and my weakness, I would say, are the exact same thing, and it's that I'm stubborn and I never settle for anything less than what I want. So the good thing out of that is that I never settle for anything less than what I want. So I always, one way or another, how long it takes, no matter what I have to go through, I end up getting what I want. But the struggle there is that I'm impatient and I get frustrated and I get upset and honestly depressed when I have things out of my control. It's not a concept that I understand and I'm unable to change my thought processes. It's always about a change of environment, and sometimes a change of environment isn't sustainable for a long period, especially with the state of the world and how we're living right now. So my strength and my weakness is the same thing, my grit, my determination for never settling for anything less than what I want.
Yeah, sometimes if you set your goals too high, then it's going to be difficult to achieve it.
Yeah.
Now, where were you coming from before you came to this park?
Before I came to this park, I was sitting in Union Square, just
Union
writing
Square?
and people watching. And then before that, just from my Airbnb in Midtown.
Now, you're staying at an Airbnb?
For now, I was staying at my cousin's apartment right here in the West Village until we had a little bit of a
Oh, so you're in
mishap.
between residences right now?
I'm in between residences. I'm very much like a nomad right now.
I heard apartments are really cheap now. Have you heard the same?
They are cheap, but I have no luck of getting any kind of work here the past few months. I literally the other day was walking around CVS, Trader Joe's, Dunkin' Donuts, Starbucks, and I can't get anything. Even as a post-grad, I just graduated with a degree. I can't find any kind of temporary work, even things I'm
Really?
more than qualified for. Yeah.
Very competitive job market right now.
Yeah.
Because I had another guy on my thing, and he said he just found an apartment for like $1,700 in Midtown somewhere.
In Midtown.
Yeah.
By himself?
I don't know. I didn't
Huh.
ask really that much, but I think it was.
Huh.
He didn't seem like the kind of guy that'd be like sharing a room with somebody. Because sometimes you can tell like those kind of personalities.
Yeah.
He seemed like a more of a private type
Right.
of person. Okay, now where are you going once you leave here?
Probably, unfortunately, back to my parents' house in Maryland because I have no more options.
No, I mean once you leave this park.
Oh, once I leave this park, I like
Yeah.
that. We're taking it more step by step.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take a loop around the village. I've been unemployed, waiting for a job in Paris, essentially for the past year now, and then the pandemic hit. So I just came to New York City a couple months ago to get a change of scenery and walk because I was stuck in a very quiet suburban town. So to answer your question, I'm just gonna keep wandering around and walking. I like to be a Parisian in New York. I like to sit and people watch, pretend I'm eating good bread, write. I'm a writer on top of being a YouTuber. I don't know, man. I just go about my day. I see where the day takes me. and wander.
So you said you're going to Paris, so New York is kind of like a springboard for you as well.
A springboard?
Yeah, like you're jumping here so you can jump somewhere else.
Exactly.
So
Yes.
Paris is your ultimate
It
destination.
is my ultimate destination.
You speak French?
Je parle un petit peu, je comprends un petit peu.
Yeah, I just had another guy here yesterday. He was like speaking French as well.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I've had quite a few. I had one big group of like 5 people once who went to, have you heard of the lycée?
To where?
Lycée?
Lycée.
I don't know, it's like a French school here.
A French what?
A school.
A school.
Yeah.
Oh, well, lycée is school. It's French for the word school.
Yeah,
So,
But I think it's like part of the name.
is it in here in Manhattan?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, perhaps.
I don't know the exact name, but
Neither do I.
Okay, now you ready for the next question?
Sure.
If you could time travel, when would you go?
1990s.
Why?
Hands down. I just would love, I was sitting at Hudson River Pier Park the other day on Pier 45. It's one of my favorite spots in the city because you see the Statue of Liberty in the distance, the World Trade Center, and the Empire State Building. It's just one of those places in New York where you know you're in New York, but you're not in the middle of a tourist place. And I was sitting there, I was looking at the Hudson, and I was like, what would happen ultimately if I threw my iPhone into the Hudson? What would happen to me? And I was like, nothing would happen to me. No one could get a hold of me. If someone really wanted to get a hold of me, they'd have to email me, they'd have to call me on a landline. I just dream all the time about living in an era where we don't have cell phones, because the unfortunate part is we're never going to go backwards. It's ingrained into our brains, our mannerisms, our whole way of being, and it's ultimately impacted socialization. And while I understand some people like, oh, it's such a great thing, you can connect with people across the world in an instant and have all these connections and keep these friendships. And while that's true, I ultimately think it's more sad and more detrimental to friendships and cultivating relationships with people, because text message is just not conducive to having a real conversation. And I just dream about being a teenager in the year 1995 and going out with my friends and no one, BSing me, oh, I'm sick, I don't want to go out tonight. Like, if you had plans, you'd have to own up and call, like, why did you not have plans? Your parents couldn't be on top of you as easily, not trying to say like to be sneaking around, just a world where communication was more genuine, but not so far back in the past. I just think the 90s would have been a place I would have enjoyed.
Yeah. Okay, now, if you had a trust fund, would you still work?
If I had a trust fund, would I still work? Knowing I was going to Paris, the answer is no.
No?
Because I don't see, and this is ultimately
So
the
you
reason.
just live off the money.
Yeah, I ultimately know.
What about if it was just $5,000 a month, though?
If I was given $5,000 a month,
Uh-huh.
I would not work.
You wouldn't work.
And this is why. And this is one of the reasons why I don't want to live in the States permanently. I don't see money, that saying money can buy you happiness. I wholeheartedly disagree. But it's also, it depends on the type of person that you are. And here's a great example. I've been here in New York City for about 2 months now. And when I tell people what I want out of my life, I just want to live alone in Paris, travel Europe, come home to my little Parisian apartment, and have a job that I enjoy, that is sustainable for me. It doesn't have to be the dream job, but something that I enjoy, because I'm a multifaceted person. I have so many interests. I've never been that American. Even when I was 16, I was like, why don't I want a high-paying job? Why don't I want the white picket fence and the 2 kids and making a ton of money and buying a big house? For me, money's not going to buy me my happiness. And let's say someone handed me, if someone was gonna hand me now, I'm getting a call to go do my visa, or hand me $1 million, I would hands down rather you tell me I'm getting my visa. Money is not the answer to me having any sense of happiness. So I just see it as a means to sustain myself and to live. I will be happy if in my life all I ever have is living in Europe.
Okay. If you were to redo any part of your life, what would it be?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, the truth is, I always look back and I never really regret anything that I've done. I mean, I made choices in my life. You make choices in your life contingent with the information that you have at the time. So, if I could go back, let's say I could go back to February, right? Before the pandemic went loose. And if I could somehow get my visa and get to France and finish my last semester of college overseas. If that were possible, of course I would have tried to do that. But also, as much as I hate it and I don't like it, I know that me suffering and coming up here to New York City and having this opportunity to live alone in New York City, even if it's only temporary, I've gotten the chance to really confirm who my real friends are, that I truly do just want a quote-unquote simple life, even if New Yorkers treat it as belittling my life, that it's not as worthy because I don't want such grandiose things. I just see it as it's a journey. It sucks, you never want to hear it, but that's what it is.
Okay, you ready for the next question?
Sure.
So what actually brought you to New York?
What brought me to New York is, so like I mentioned before, my mom is a New Yorker. And I'm 22, and since I was 16, since I've grown up in the DC area, since I moved back there when I was 14, I've taken a lot of trips up here the past few years. And New York is not my dream, but every time that I've been here, it's kind of coincidentally coordinated with a low point in my life. And the charm of New York City that I always tell people, to foreigners that I've met around the world who want to come to it, is it's not pretty, it's not charming. New York City is amazing. It's the mentality of New Yorkers and their non-stop perseverance. You feel that everywhere. There's a wonderful quote by, I think her name is Dorothy Parker, that London is satisfied, Paris is resigned, but New York is hopeful. It seeks every corner to try and find it. And that's what New York City is. You feel that sense of hope, and every time I'm here, I feel like the lights of the city just put me on a neutral cloud, and I sucked that feeling out because I wasn't finding it anywhere else, and I knew that I wasn't going to get it anywhere else unless I came here.
Okay.
The flying
Yeah,
a
it's
drone over
annoying.
there.
Yeah. Well, you're not a woman that's really driven by money, because whenever I ask people what their three wishes are going to be, you know, a lot of them are going to say money. So what are yours going to be?
Oh, if I had three wishes?
I know one of them's going to be the visa, right?
Yeah, one of them's just live in Europe. My visa. Three wishes. Visa. Two, to end up with the love of my life, even though I have to live with the fact that they may never happen. Well, no, I guess two would be to wish for his happiness, not to be with him, to wish for his own happiness. So one, live in Europe. Two, wish for his own happiness, my own peace. Three, I honestly don't want anything else, so I guess I would wish for the world to be a better place than it is now, because it's just been on such a downward spiral. I hope that maybe 20 years from now, it could be a little bit different.
All right, now, do you want to answer this next question in French?
I don't think I can, so you should probably ask it in English.
Okay, so do you want to say anything in French other than what you said before?
Je veux habiter à Paris maintenant. I would like to live in Paris now.
Okay. Have you been there many times?
Three
Is that-
times. Yeah,
Yeah.
many times.
What are some things that draw you to Paris?
Oh my god. I've been to how many countries in Europe? Oh my god, I don't even know. I've been to 20 countries in Israel, Australia, New Zealand, Japan. I've been to 16 countries in Europe. Pretty much every single European city. The only ones I haven't been to are the ones in Greece and the ones in Scandinavia. And I've taken 3 full trips to Europe. Most of them were solo, going for a month at a time. And the first time I went when I was 18, I only went for 10 days or so the first time I went. And it was just one of those things where I knew. I landed, Paris was the very first foreign place I ever went to. And I just landed and I felt this effervescent sense of peace and calmness, and I was drawn to the lifestyle. My whole teenagehood, I was growing up in a very affluent area in Washington, D.C., where my peers were constantly striving for being a lawyer or a doctor, these high-paying jobs, this kind of lifestyle that...
That bourgeois lifestyle.
Huh?
That bourgeois lifestyle.
Yeah, that lifestyle that even at the age of 15, 16, I was like, what's wrong with me? Why don't I want that? And then I went to Europe, where it's not like that, and people don't strive for those things. They strive for simplicity. They strive for just work-life balance and just enjoying their life. And it just kind of all clicked. I was like, wow, this is a place where I feel that people want a similar life that I do. I love, it sounds really stupid and trivial, but I love every little thing. It just brings me the oddest sense of joy. Like when I have a €2 coin and I can put it in the machine and I can get a water bottle. When I can get a baguette for 99 cents. When I can sit and people watch. Just being surrounded by beauty. I mean, New York has parts that look like Europe. Soho looks like Europe. Flatiron looks like Europe. But everywhere in Europe, cobblestone streets. And, you know, New York City copied Europe on the outdoor dining. Europe was doing that years before. The charm on the streets, the opportunity to do things that I love all the time, like film and photography and inspiration to write. And everything. It's like this is the best way I can put it. This is a story that I tell people all the time. In May of 19, I was in Luxembourg, right? In Luxembourg City? Is that what it's called? It's just Luxembourg, I think.
It's so small that it could
It's
be
so
either
tiny.
way.
It's so tiny. You sit in a park, the plane could be so close to you coming down. I was sitting in a park, and something I would do all the time, and I'm going to do all the time in Europe, is a meal for me would just be buy a baguette, 99 cents, and go buy a dip, like hummus or guac, right? When you walk into a grocery store in the States, you've got 10 different hummus options. Lemon pepper hummus, olive Kalamata olive hummus, everything bagel hummus, roasted red pepper hummus. And you've got signs in red and yellow, 2 for $5, 3 for $5, 4 for $10, enticing you to buy more. Constantly this culture of capitalism, I want more, I want your money, you should spend more money, you should make more money. When I walked into Manaf, which is a chain grocery store in Europe, little thing, you walk in, there are 2 options, plain guac, plain hummus. No signs, nothing enticing me to buy, and I just love that sense of simplicity. I walk in, I have 2 options. I don't have to be feeling like I'm not making the most of my money or spending more money. And with, artists have the hardest life because of just the way your brain thinks. It's differently than everyone. I'm constantly going to have all these intense thoughts in my mind, and to live in a place where my environment takes some of that pressure away, it's just the most sensational, grounding feeling that I have yet to find anywhere else, and I know I'll never find it anywhere else.
Again.
Sure.
Now, next question. Did you want to talk about you talked about being a very international person, right?
Yeah,
So you said you've been to a bunch of places,
I have.
and so what are some other places you want to go to besides France?
Oh, well, post-COVID, I'd love to go to Greece. I want to go to Scandinavia. I'm dying to go back to Spain and Switzerland. Those are some of my favorite places.
Because when you're in France, basically you can just like drive over to all those other countries.
Exactly, and that's one of the many other reasons why I love it so much is the ease of travel. You don't have that in the States. You're a country surrounded by water and surrounded
Right.
so far away.
Yeah.
Something far away that I'd like to do in a more post-COVID world. From France, is I'd love to go to South Africa, Cape
Oh,
Town.
South Africa?
That's next on my list, I'd say, for big trips.
Yeah.
I've got a long list. I mean, I'd love to go to other places in Asia, Bali, Singapore, Dubai. I've got a long list of places I'd love to go to, but I'm not thinking about them yet because I'd love to do it in a post-COVID world, whatever that may look like.
So I mean, you said you wanted to go to France, so you're willing to go even in the middle of a pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. Hands down. Hands down. A lot of my friends tried to convince me, well, maybe it's not the best time to go there right now in the way that it is. But here we are in New York City. It's a pandemic. We're just doing the best that we can. We wear masks, we try to distance, you keep your hands clean, you follow the precautions. It's not that I don't understand what the pandemic has done, and it's just more of a personal choice. I've been waiting so long for this that I don't want the pandemic to be the thing that stops me from getting to go. I mean, it has been, but if I have the opportunity to go, I'm not going to wait for another year from now to settle for less than what I want, as we mentioned before. So,
Yeah,
it's good
yeah.
timing. No
One of the
worries.
questions that I ask people is, what is the strangest thing you've ever seen in this park? And I guess you just witnessed
I
it.
think today, and I've spent many times in this park over my life.
So that was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So now I was gonna ask you, what do you think about the other YouTubers? Do you even care what other YouTubers are doing? Do you compare yourself to other YouTubers?
Well, of course, anyone who says I don't care what other people think, right? But there's always a sense of you want to compare your success to what other people are doing because you think, oh, this worked for this person, so I think I need to follow the same steps. I love YouTube. Like, I love YouTube not just making things, but I love to watch things, Some people have TV shows they really love to binge or movie series. I go home and I watch, like, instead of 3 hours of TV, I watch YouTube. And I watch all the kind of content because I also like to make all the kinds of content. So I do pay attention to what they're doing, but same thing as I said before, I don't think that just making, like Emma Chamberlain, you can't just sit in your kitchen and cook like Emma Chamberlain and expect success. She's Emma Chamberlain. That's her personality and her editing style, and that's what got her there. So I watch for inspiration, just like, with music. I have artists that I look to inspiration when I write, but I ultimately still come up with my own products.
Do you collaborate or do you communicate with other YouTubers at all?
I don't. My channel's so small that I haven't had those opportunities quite yet.
Yeah, because a lot of people do. See, like these guys they're YouTubers as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I think they do shorter videos. And okay, let me go into my next question here.
Sure.
Can you do any impersonation?
That's as good as it's gonna get.
What are you impersonating?
Trump.
Oh, is that what he does?
He goes, I don't know. I'm trying to think of words that my dad does a better impersonation of him. I don't know. I'm just me.
Okay, now you have been in New York for a minute now.
I have.
What are some good places to film in New York? These kinds of
To
videos.
film.
Yeah.
Like a video like how you're filming right
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Well, I personally love Hudson River View Park. It's not crowded like this. It's quiet and you still feel like you're in New York City. I would say Bryant Park, but I think it's a little super packed.
There's a lot of people there.
In the wintertime, in the Christmas time there was, because of the Winter Village, it was pretty hectic with all the shops set up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I think for a video like this, Madison Square Park would be pretty fitting. Flatiron, it's quiet, and I like that place as well. And Tompkins is also pretty quiet, Tompkins Square
Yeah.
Park. Those are some ideas I have that come to mind.
Did you get any good footage at the Winter Village?
Oh yeah, I have a ton of footage I've uploaded quite a few New York City videos on my channel the past few weeks.
Now, speaking about that, what is your most successful content?
My most successful content, my fashion videos get a lot of views. I make videos showing like what I wear 5 days a week. The past 2 months haven't been a great example because I've been a nomad and just been living off of my one suitcase. But those get quite a lot of views, and some of my New York City content has gotten some stuff. I made a video, a day in my life as an unemployed 22-year-old living in the city, and what I spend in a week as a 22-year-old living in the city. That was a popular trend about a year ago, and I did it myself.
Now, what kind of positive responses are you getting from some of your fans or your viewers?
They just always say that they like the content, or they write something that they'd like to see, or more often than not, they just write something relatable. Like I put up a cooking video and I was using cashew milk to make pancakes, and someone was like, "I have yet to try cashew milk." They just communicate like they're friends, and that's what I would like.
Any proposals for collaborations or potential jobs?
Well, jobs or collaborating. If I collaborated with someone, I'd love to do something kind of like, if you've ever heard of the channel Damon and Joe, they were a travel duo who they traveled the world, and then sometimes they were in 2 different places, and they'd make videos comparing a day in their life in 2 different cities across the world. And once I'm in Paris, I would love to make videos like that with other people.
Oh, so you would do all that in French?
No, in English.
Oh, in English? But I always heard that the French people don't like speaking English.
They really don't. The job I'm going for, though, is in English. I'm aware that I'm going to have to step up my French game, but I would make the content in English. The goal for my channel with that content, any France content, would be to show that if this is something someone else wants, you can do it. You just have to find the right avenue to walk down.
Because I once talked to somebody in English in France, and this other guy told me that I was rude.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
you shouldn't just run up on somebody and start speaking
Well,
English.
they have it's a different kind of culture, you know. In the States, you know, you're on the subway here in New York, and you just go, "Hey, man, what's up?" It's not like that there. It's almost you have to acknowledge and respect that you're about to speak to them. So that's why you have to go bonjour, and then code. If they say bonjour back to you, it's code for, okay, you're respecting me by saying hello to me in my native tongue. Now maybe I will help you. And then you have to ask in French, parlez-vous anglais? Do you speak English? Then they'll try their best to communicate with you. And that's something I've learned all over the world, is just try to learn their greetings, and they'll be more likely to want to help you in English. It's not just France.
Okay, now tell me what you were doing during the lockdown.
Oh my. Like in March
March,
when things
yeah.
were hardcore.
When everything was closed.
That was a really rough time for me, as I know it was for a lot of people. I was in my suburban town outside of Washington, D.C. in Maryland. I was in my last semester of college, in my household with my 2 brothers and my 2 parents, where all of a sudden we were all doing school and work from home. So during that time period, I was finishing my last semester of college on Zoom, not how any senior would want to have graduation or the end of their college experience. Trying to call friends every day because everyone else was more in the same boat of really being at home. It's not the case anymore. People are out and about. It's not the same. I honestly, March, as I've spoken with other friends, no one really knew what it was going to become. We all thought it was just going to be, oh, we're going to be home for 8 weeks, and we never, I honestly
They always
never-
made it seem that way. Because I would see signs on the mall that says we're
Right.
closed for the next 2 weeks.
Right, the
So
media-
if you read that sign, you would think, oh, it's only going to last for 2 weeks.
Right. None of us knew what it was going to become. So at the time, before May, I would say my depression and how things started impacting my life began in May once I quote unquote graduated. But for that 2-month period, I was doing a lot of the same things. I would take a walk every single day before I got really sick of it, seeing the same neighborhood streets. It's one of the reasons why I came to Manhattan, because it's impossible to walk down every single street in Manhattan. I was losing my mind, frankly. I love to cook and bake, so I was doing that. I like to work out. I would run, do Pilates, call friends. I would say it was a very similar life, except things were virtual Zoom, but I did lose my babysitting business that I had built up, that I was working, and that's how I was making my money to travel every time I got a break from school during college. That was the thing that was really hard and heartbreaking for me, because I knew I was about to say goodbye to that little business I had cultivated anyways, but I never got a proper goodbye. There were these kids that I had literally watched grown up. What would have been my first semester of college, to backtrack, I was a preschool teacher part-time, and then when I left to go to school at College Park in Maryland, and this time 4 years ago, January of 17, after that all of the parents wanted a babysitter, and I was 18 and I had known their kids and I had a car, so it just grew. Everyone in the suburb, I had a little business, and then I put a jar on top of my dresser in my room, and I said, I'm taking myself to Europe. I'm 18, I have this job, I'm gonna do it. In May of 17, I went to Europe, Paris the first time, and then I just did it every single time I had a break. So the past 4 years of my life were, I did a semester of school, I'd work and have this like double life of babysitting, and then I'd get up, I'd pick another spot on the globe, and I'd go off for a month. And that's the one thing that I lost, that I didn't get a proper goodbye to. But
Very hard to
yeah.
plan for things like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now let me ask you this.
Sure.
You're a YouTuber. If you were making a video doing interviews, what kind of questions would you ask people?
The first thing I would ask is how was the last year for you? What was your last year like? Because it's going to be, the past year revealed what people's true priorities are. And I know for a lot of people that was friends and family. For me, it wasn't that answer, and I felt a little out of the loop because it wasn't the same answer as anyone. But hearing about what the last year of someone's life has been like would be really telling to what someone is like.
But do you think people would get into it that deep though if you give them a general question like that? Because I find like a lot of people have difficulty answering a lot of the questions that I'm
A lot of people have
asking.
trouble opening up, or to be frank, and I'm not saying this to be condescending or patronizing in any way, but some people weren't really all that affected by it. But that also will just show like what someone's life is like, and again, like priorities are just where they stand in life. So some people, I don't know if it's that they don't have anything to open up about, but it's just that it didn't really impact their life. It impacted everyone's life. I mean, here we are with the new normal. We're wearing masks, and we have, news about vaccines and all these kinds of things. But for some people, their lives kind of resumed just with the new normal in place.
Now, what is your biggest accomplishment in life?
My biggest accomplishment would be all of the traveling that I've done for so young. I mean, I went to 20 countries before I even turned 22 years old, so that's what I'm most proud of.
It's not easy, is it?
To travel like that?
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is nothing's impossible if you just set your mind to it. If you want something badly enough, it will happen. It's a combination of hard work, but also luck has to do with it. You need a little bit of luck and you need faith, and
Do you have any tattoos?
I do not have any tattoos.
No tattoos.
No tattoos. I'm a weird Gen Zer.
Okay, so I think we are approaching the end of the general questions right
Sure.
here. Now, did you want to plug any more of your social media? You plugged them all already, right?
I think I did. Just my name on YouTube and Instagram, Stephanie Safdie, is the best way to find me.
Did you want to add anything else? Anything else that I didn't bring up that you wanted to touch upon?
I don't think so. I think you asked some good questions.
I got it all, did
Yeah.
I? No, I have one more question.
Sure.
Nature versus nurture. What's more important?
Nurture.
Nurture?
I
Why?
think, remind me, because
Nurture is like how you were raised, right?
Uh-huh.
Nature is basically like the way you were born. Like a lot of people make the argument that if I raised you in the ghetto, you would be the same as someone who was raised in an affluent neighborhood like you were. So if I put you in the ghetto and raised you in the ghetto, you would turn out this pretty more or less the same way. If that's the nature argument. The nurture argument is I could put a guy in the ghetto who would have ended up in prison, put him in an affluent neighborhood, and he would have turned out not in prison and probably with a good job.
So nurture is that your environment has
Yeah,
to
your
do with-
environment determines who you are. Nature is I could put you in any environment and you would be successful. The nature environment would
Oh,
be
the
I could
nature.
put Mark Zuckerberg
Uh-huh.
in the ghetto or in
Uh-huh.
Africa somewhere,
Uh-huh.
and he would turn out to be a successful person
Oh,
regardless.
then my answer is nature.
Nature.
It doesn't matter who you are, what you come from. It's
Uh-huh.
all about your mind and your willingness to reach your own potential.
Okay, now what apps do you use?
Apps?
What apps on your
I'm a
phone?
weird 22-year-old. I spend a max of an hour on my phone a day. I mean, I use the camera app honestly. Most often. I mean, if you were to look through the time spent on each app, I think camera's more than messages. I don't text people. I refuse to text people. They have to call me. I use Snapchat to take pictures too because not even for the posting. I love when it comes up
The
a
filters?
year. Not the filters. When it comes up a year from now, my memories.
Oh, it's
When
like a diary.
Exactly, it's my virtual diary. So honestly, I use Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I don't really care who's reading or looking at it. It's the easiest way for me to have my own personal time capsule. You know, a year from now, I hope that some of my pictures, I'm sitting in a Parisian garden, and I look back and I'm like, oh, remember when I was here this time and I've come this far.
So can you explain how Snapchat works for people who don't know how it works?
Snapchat. So
Yeah.
basically,
Is it like a chat? Because it sounds like a chatting program.
yeah, it's not.
What is it?
It's an app that was originally, I think, supposed to be like a Tinder kind of thing for online dating.
Oh, people actually meet people from Snapchat?
Oh no, not anymore. It was big when I was in high school. It's basically a form. Yeah, so Snapchat is basically a social media app where you can share videos and Instagram and pictures. But unlike Facebook and Instagram where you post something, you have a story. So actually Instagram and Facebook kind of mimicked Snapchat with their idea of stories. It's these 24-hour loops of content, either videos or pictures, that expire. And in the past few years, they created a way that you can save them to memories, but to outside viewers, it's content that has an expiration date.
So how do you gain, for example, a following on Snapchat?
Honestly, the way that I gain followers is I like to make personal connections. I'm walking around a city and I talk to someone, I'm like, oh, you should follow me on here, and that's how it usually happens.
So you can't just like it normally doesn't go like randomly on Snapchat.
I don't think so.
Nobody's gonna do a search for. Nobody's gonna do a search for like New York City. And say,
No,
okay,
and
let me follow this person.
especially the algorithms and again the newfound short attention spans. I mean, the kids that are 5, 6 years younger than I am, they have no attention span, and it's TikTok. TikTok is their Snapchat, you know. So, yeah, no, not for Snapchat. I would say that's not a way to build a viral method of success.
Are you on TikTok as well?
I'm not. I refuse to join that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Facebook before.
Yeah.
Why is Facebook still relevant to you? Because most of the people I interview, they say
Right.
that it's not relevant.
Oh yeah, it's not relevant. Older people use it. I use it because I've made so many friends from around the world that's the best way to contact them. I use Facebook messaging or they see stuff. And again, I use it as my personal diary to write statuses or things that I'm thinking. It's really great for Facebook groups. You know, I've tried to find work up here, housing up here.
Now,
I think it's a good method for that.
yeah. You want to say anything else?
No,
Okay, now anything else that I didn't bring up that you wanted to cover? Nothing else?
I think we're good.
We're good?
Yeah.
Okay, now, do you want to give a shout out to anyone?
Shout out. Not at the moment.
Shout out to friends.
Shout out
in
to any of
friends?
my
No?
friends that are still going through this with me. They know who they are.
Yeah. Now, do I have your permission to put this on the internet?
Oh yeah,